Before we jump into today's episode, I want to speak to you, the owner who's listening right now. Okay. You're telling yourself that this is the week. This is the week that you're going to stay strategic, that you're not going to get into the weeds, that you're going to focus on the big picture. But here's the thing. You're midweek and you're rewriting director enrollment emails because it just needs to match the current climate. And by Thursday, three teachers called out, so you're rearranging coverage. And then Thursday comes and you're sitting on the floor in the toddler room during circle time and nap time. You went from strategy and understanding the strategic level of work to classrooms in less than 72 hours again. And here's the thing. You think it's because you're not delegating well enough or that you need better systems or processes or better staff or better boundaries. You don't. You've delegated the tasks. You have not transferred ownership. And your team knows it. They know that if they just look confused enough or if they just don't understand enough or they just say, I wasn't sure what you meant, they get another day and another chance while you continue carry the invisible weight and you are drowning in plain sight. I'm Chanie. I've been coaching early childhood leaders for close to 20 years, and I'm doing a live workshop this month for owners only. Delegation isn't the finish line, ownership is. And I'm going to show you the 3 hidden reflexes that keep you stuck in the cycle and how to break it so your team actually owns their work and what they need to do. You can register at schoolsofexcellence.com/delegation because here's the thing. Relief isn't coming after back to school, after enrollment, after summer, after. Relief is now. All right, let's get into today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. I'm excited to welcome back our third time returning guest, Kathy Gray. She's been in the Schools of Excellence world since 2018, late 2018. So it's been a hot minute, and we've had several different conversations about the evolution of her company, Creative Critters, which is based in Virginia. She's got an incredibly large company, multiple centers. Is it 6 centers at this point?
Still 5. We're in the process of building one.
Yes. So if you're listening to this and whether you own one location or you're a multi-site operator, today's conversation is going to have a lot of fascinating insight into what it actually takes to build a level of sustainable growth that you want to see inside of your organization and the reality of human behavior. So I'd love to really get started with what did reality actually look like for you? So when you think of a normal Tuesday before you and I met, what did that look like? And I know we're time traveling a little bit, but walk us through that.
Well, that's a long time ago. So a really long time ago. A normal Tuesday for me way back when I was actually just coming out of being in a director role. So I was actually becoming the owner and able to start really working on my business, not in my business. Um, Yeah, so I was coming out of the everyday minutia and really learning how to be a leader, learning how to lead and delegate, which has taken me forever to learn. But I think I'm almost at a really good place because of you, actually.
What did you believe then that was just part of leadership that you don't believe anymore because of reality? Not just because of like, well, I just don't believe that anymore. Like, what has reality taught you? You thought this was leadership, but reality served a different bill for you in the last couple months.
I think before I always believe that you lead by example. I have to be in it. I have to be next to them. I have to be working side by side. I'm no different than you. And yes, I have to be working side by side with them in a different role. I need to support them in a different role now. I can't be in it and still support them. So, really my role has turned into the creator of the infrastructure, if you want to really dive deep into the infrastructure of the company. And in that way, I'm now supporting them, I feel like, in a much more efficient and positive way, if that makes sense.
What else did you believe was just part of leadership? What did you normalize for years?
I think empathy, really being empathetic, that tends to be a big part of my personality. That I allowed a lot of things to happen because I'm a fixer. So it's okay. I'll fix it. It's okay if you don't come today. I'll do this. It's okay. It's okay. And then all of a sudden it wasn't so okay. When you have
Why did you say it was okay? What was underneath that?
I think it was everybody brings things to the table. And I think if we go back in time, my mission and vision was not only children, but it was also women. In this field, we tend to um, attract many women, obviously, but also women that have a lot of struggles, single moms, young moms, women that never finished high school. So really that part of the mission was, okay, I'm going to inspire them to be better, to help them be happier. And so I think that piece of me kind of took over and I forgot the other part, the business part. And I've learned now how to kind of pull them together. Um, so I can still be empathetic, but empathy isn't the number one go to immediately. And trying to balance that out. We kind of talked the other day about trade offs. You know, what's the trade off for empathy?
Yeah. What did it cost you to be the leader who said it's okay, had empathy, came in, fixed, modeled, was in it for them? Because all of those things sound actually really noble and really beautiful and very responsible and loving and devotional. They don't sound like dysfunction. They don't sound like, things that someone should stop doing. But like you just said, everything that we do has a trade off. There's a cost to showing up in a certain way. And whatever you're comfortable sharing, obviously, what did it cost you to do that?
Um, I think it kind of affected the quality of my program because that kind of became the most important thing. But really, what's important is the children and the business piece of that to allow empathy to occur. You have to have the structure, the organization, the SOPs, the all of those things. So when you don't have those and you just put empathy first, then everybody's kind of like, oh, well, Kathy's just going to step in for me and it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be great because Kathy's going to be here. Well, Kathy got sick from that, very sick, very, very sick. It cost me that. It cost probably a lot of really good staff left because the infrastructure wasn't strong enough. So the weak links, if you want to call them that, were kind of taking all the empathy, sucking it out. And
I
then
have a line that I always say when you are afraid to disappoint one person, you exhaust five others.
yes, exactly. So when you think about that, we tend to, because we work on ratios, right? So we tend to empathize with the weakest link, not the strongest link who's holding the infrastructure together. We go to the weakest link. And then what does that cost you? That costs the quality of your program. And I have seen my program evolve into something not that I would ever envision, and now pulling it back up to a different place.
The challenge that's interesting that I want to reflect to the person who's listening is that in the short term, it works, which is why we do it. In the short term, it does keep the quality there because you're compensating for it. But eventually, something breaks. You got sick, something else happens. And then what happens is people are like, oh, you see, everything got worse. And I'm like, no, nothing got worse. Now you're just finally seeing the actual infrastructure and systems that you have, and you realizing the painful reality, you are the system. And that can't be normal, right? And that's the thesis of my book. So what were the problems or breakdowns, whatever you want to share, that kept showing up over and over again, even after you've built every process or SOP? And the reason I'm asking this question is because for those of you that are listening that are systems people, let me tell you something. Kathy has color-coded calendars and Trello boards and binders and SOPs and processes and systems and checklists. Like, this woman is a ninja when it comes to like every type of system you can think of. So before you're like, well, Kathy probably didn't have the right systems in in place, and that's why that happened. No, she had everything. So now that I've done that preface, what problems kept coming up even though you had all of those things?
So, I to put it in a nutshell, I know that some of my directors were not, um, they were not the protectors of the system, of the standards. They weren't protecting the standards. They were afraid to, because if they did, then everybody was going to leave. And so
That's what they were afraid of.
yes, if I
Yes.
protect the standards, then I'm going to have no staff. Well, you're not going to have the right staff if you don't protect the standards. And that's exactly what happened in one of my centers. So my director left because she was the fixer of all.
After how long? We give some context after
5 years. 5 years. And I watched it. You watched it, honey. You watched it. Yeah.
5 years of doing what, Kathy? What did you do for 5 years?
I accepted her excuses. I was overly empathetic probably, and part of that was there was also a personal connection. We live in a small town.
Personal connection.
I know her
Yes.
family. I know her heart. Her heart was in it. It was in it for her staff, not for herself, not for the company. She became friends with them. Everything was like, oh, yeah, you can take off. She worked 7 to 6 with 3 young children. She worked herself to death. And when she finally, we kind of, together, you and I worked through, finally just saying, you have 2 weeks to do these things and make the change. And if you don't, then we're going to have a different conversation. And we had that different conversation, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't ugly. It was reality. She wasn't the leader, the protector of the standards. She couldn't do it.
But that's what I want to unpack here, because I love the distinction that you're sharing, and I want to just develop it a little bit more. In childcare, especially in education, we collapse, and this is what Kathy did. And many of you, and I've done this for years when I was the director and an owner, and people do this all the time. We collapse care and capacity into the same verb. So we say, because they care and because their heart is in it, therefore they should be able to do this. No, someone can care deeply about your mission and still not have capacity to execute it. Someone can desperately want to help you. Like truly, they're like, I want to, and still be incapable of carrying that level of responsibility. Okay. You can have a teacher who loves kids but cannot regulate a classroom of 15 children. And so the challenge that so many of us have in childcare is because we see the soul and the heart and the intention, we elevate it to the point of, well, then they should be able to do it. Like, it's just, I'm one more SOP away. I'm one more conversation away. I'm one more training away. I'm one more system away. And then they'll be able to get there. No, care and capacity are not the same.
Yes. Yes. And that was her. And I love her to this day. I love her for thinking she could be a leader. And I love her for letting me see through the blinds. Now I see. Now I see. So that center is now evolving with a new director. And she came in and we had a meeting with the staff. These are the standards. It's Keisha's job to protect the standards. If you don't want to follow them, that's fine. I respectfully ask you to give your 2 weeks notice and we'll move on because we're going to protect the standards. So we did have 2 staff that left. And you know what? Creative Critters is still open today. I'm not there, but it's open.
Exactly.
We carried on, with or without those 2 staff, we got it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we all get tangled up. If we hold them to the standards, they're going to leave. Well, they're going to leave anyway.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, let's take a quick pause here because I have a question for you as an owner. All right. What time did you wake up this morning? Now, when your alarm went off, when did your brain wake you up? Was it 2 o'clock? Was it 3 o'clock? Was it 4 o'clock? And here's the thing, you weren't thinking about your life, were you? You were thinking, did the person send the enrollment email that they were do? Is ratio covered for tomorrow? Did anyone order more gloves? Meanwhile, your entire team is fast asleep because you're the only one that's carrying the mental and emotional load of an entire ecosystem that you technically, quote unquote, delegated to. And here's the thing that's the most frustrating for you. Because it is the invisible weight of leadership, nobody sees it. So everyone thinks you're so strong. Nobody sees you drowning in plain sight. They just see that you're still swimming. So you keep waiting just to get through this week, just to get through this enrollment, just to get through back to school, just to get through, but that week never comes, that day never comes. You keep waiting, and the pattern keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Here's the thing. I've coached leaders for almost 2 decades, and I'm doing a live workshop this month for owners only. Delegation isn't the finish line, ownership is. I'm going to show you how to build infrastructure so nobody's waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can register today. It's free to register. You deserve to sleep through the night. Okay, schoolsofexcellence.com/delegation. The link is also in the show notes. All right, let's get back to the show.
Yeah. When, and I know you've shared a little bit of this, but I want to kind of ask this question again from a different angle. At what point of you carrying this cost and doing all of it did you realize this can't be normal? This cannot be the cost of success. This cannot be the price of leadership and of everything. This cannot be it. What were some of those, I guess, turning moments? Because I don't think there's ever one specific thing.
I think, honestly, it was a little crazy when we were transitioning over to a new director in that center. I started looking at the data because I know you're data driven too. You kind of taught me that because I was always like, data, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Now I'm like, what's the data on that? I want to see the data. So I did the data on their time off request, how much time they've taken off since January up until July, because that was a big problem. She would just let everybody just be off all the time. 35% of the time, they had a full staff.
Oh, say that again.
35% of the time, they were at full staff. So we were providing care 35% of the time. So basically, we were stealing money from my customers, from my clients. So when we went in and talked to them, I said, how would you feel if you hired a cleaning lady and she did 35% of the job, but you had to still pay her? Because that's what's happening here. And I'm a lot of things. I'm not perfect, but I am not a liar and I'm not someone that will rip off someone. This has to stop.
Yes.
So that was kind of the turning point. And then I started looking at the data at all the other centers. I'm like, okay, data of time off requests and people taking time off says so much about your culture.
Why? Why does it say so much about the culture?
So if you don't want to come to work, then something's going on at that center, at your job. Something's going on at your job. I want to come to work every day. I love to come to work. I love to go downstairs in my office and sit. I'm like, okay, and just knock out. Yeah, and I get to knock out stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
But if you're out all the time, it's because you're not happy.
Yeah.
So so it was kind of now a domino effect. I started looking, okay, gratefully, thankfully, most of our centers did not have a whole lot of that, nowhere near that, right? So that's the center now that we're focusing on creating new staff culture there, a different culture. But these other pockets of these other locations, we can hone in on, okay, what's going on? How can we fix this? So really, that data really helped the directors to see, hey, on your one-on-one, maybe we should have this conversation with them. Let's talk about it. Like, what's happening? You're out a lot. Are you okay? Like, are you happy? Let me come in your classroom and see what's going on. Observation. So my girls, my directors, they observe, they coach, they set up coaching plans, and they do one-on-ones. That's their job basically. So my model's a little bit different. They don't do all the paperwork and all that stuff. So that's their job. So they can really now they can hone in on that culture, that staff retention. It changed a lot. That was the turning.
Of course, I love that what I think is really beautiful about, well, beautiful is the wrong word. What I think is a testament to your leadership capacity is a lot of times as humans, we can get stuck in certain identities of like, I'm not good with numbers. I don't know how to look at data. I'm not really sure how to assess things. I am like this. I am like that. But that doesn't serve us. And I think what's the testament to the leadership journey is you saying, okay, I might not enjoy looking at data up until this point, or I might not, have looked at whatever it is. But you know what? There's a cost to me not knowing that skill. And now that you have that skill and you've developed it, now you can go do it. And I want the young leader who's listening to this to really embrace this. Like, there is no age limit to skill development. There is no like age limit to like, oh, well, I'm this old already and I've never been good with numbers, so I'm never going to be good with numbers. Why? Like, there's always this opportunity. And I have so much respect for Kathy and just the evolution of her leadership and how she's really committed to constantly. It's not just growth; it's the actual skill to become that next leader.
It's almost now like a mission. I'm on the edge of retiring, and I'm like, before I go, I'm going to make sure I've mastered this 100%. I want to go out on the top, not like drowning.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I'm curious about, because this is a question I ask everyone. Like, when people first join our, schools of excellence, we start working with them on installing infrastructure, and I talk about standards. So the first thing they always say is, but I already have standards. Okay. What did you misunderstand about standards that you now know differently, where now you're like, oh, we didn't have standards before, but now we do? What was that? What was the difference?
Honestly, we had standards, but we didn't follow them.
Okay.
We had them, and actually standards evolve. They change all the time. So like this year, we're getting ready. My regional director and I are going on a weekend retreat to redo our standards, to update them, because times have changed. Right now in our industry, I think, and here in Virginia, probably everywhere, everybody's looking for that work-life balance. So how do we create standards to fit that, to meet that need of our staff? Because if we don't, we're not going to have staff. But how do we balance that with our standards? How do we, how do we do that? So standards are forever evolving. You can't just say, oh, I did standards in 2017. They're good. We're good. No, we're not good.
Because people change, life changes. I write about in chapter 4 of my book, the disruptive forces, new, governments change, the economy changes, the world changes, and we need adaptability. And what you're really describing is this integration of, this is what people want, but this is what creates sustainability for creative creators. How do we integrate the two? So it's not one has to sacrifice for the other. No, how do we create something where both are sustainable and neither person has to feel that they're sacrificing their life? That's the key component here of what infrastructure is. When you think about what has changed internally for you, what has become emotionally easier? What has, stopped consuming so much of your mental energy?
I think I probably have stopped taking the weight of my staff's emotions on myself. So, I am older than most of them. And so I don't know if it's old. I don't know. My husband says, I did have brain trauma. So my husband's always like, that's your new brain. But I like to think that
it's like Kathy's new brain. I know both Kathy's, and I like Kathy's new brain. I will tell you that.
Well, I beg to differ. I think it's the mature Kathy now.
That could also be.
I'm not really sure, but whoever it is, I'm kind of like, okay, well, yeah, that happens. I'm a lot calmer in my being, so I'm not as reactive to their situations. Okay, I'm sorry that's happening. Are you going to be able to sustain your position here? Or so I'm kind of a little bit more business than I used to be. So I'm trying to balance that family empathy and caring, family family business. Like how?
Yeah, because you also work with your family. Your daughters work in the center.
Like, I'm not as empathetic for them, but
family business. Yeah.
But really, I think I just think I'm tougher. I have tougher skin. I think
You're more resilient.
yeah, and I'm kind of, you know what? This is the way the world is. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm going to protect the standards. I go back to those standards and those missions every single day. Every single day. Our children, I say to my directors, if I walk into your center, are children having fun? Are they learning? Because my mission is I want children to love to learn because that's been taken away from our kids. So when I come to your center, do I see that? Because if I don't, then you're not protecting the standards. I constantly go back to that. They're so sick of hearing, are you protecting the standards?
I love it. I love it. Let that be something they fall asleep like thinking about,
Yeah. And I
wake up thinking about.
and I wasn't always like that. I made excuses for them. I allowed that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
The reason I just want to clarify for the person that's listening, we use the word protecting the standards on purpose because what's happening is if they're not protecting the standard, they're protecting their comfort. It's one or the other. So when someone chooses to not protect the standard, what they're doing is they're protecting their comfort, their comfort of it's really uncomfortable for me to go have that conversation. I really don't want to go risk that. I'm afraid I might fail. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm afraid I'll be humiliated. I'm afraid I'll be rejected. They're protecting their comfort. And so part of leadership is constantly showing the person the trade-off. When you don't protect the standard, you protect your comfort. Being in leadership means you must do uncomfortable things. It means you cannot choose your comfort. You must protect company standards. That's why we use those words. It's not just about, well, honor the standard. No. It's protect the standard because you're either protecting the standard or you're protecting your comfort.
yeah, and when you look at that, you can say to these staff, hey, this is the company standard, right? So it's not Susie's standard, it's not Kathy's.
Exactly.
It's the company. So you're almost
Exactly.
putting the aura of the blame on the company, the being of the company, not a person. And it makes it much easier to be able to say, hey, this is the company standard. It's non-negotiable. I'm sorry. This is what's going to happen.
What infrastructure is. Infrastructure is the company absorbs it, not the human. When the human has to absorb it, this can't be normal. That's when success feels like survival because one human is not supposed to shock absorb 50 different people's expectations. That is not reality, right?
That's the ticket right there. So when directors are afraid to withhold the standards, it's because they're not putting the weight on the company. They're putting the weight on themselves. And until they let that go, nothing will change. I had to let it go. It's not me. It's the company. The company is not me.
Yes.
The company is the company. Yeah. So, and separating that, I guess that would answer the previous question. That was the eye opener for me. I'm not the company. I just own the company. I protect the standards of the company. I facilitate the standards of the company. And when your directors realize that, everything flips. It makes it so much easier on them. They're not to blame. Like, don't blame me. I'm sorry. Because that's what they're afraid of. They don't want to be blamed. They don't want to be the bad guy. Well, you're not the bad guy. The company is, because that's the standard. If there were a bad guy, because I don't think standards are bad. You know what I mean? But anyway.
So when we're installing this kind of infrastructure and we're working through protecting company standards and all of that, there's always resistance from the team. And I think the industry has an illusion of like, when I get perfect buy-in and I get everyone on the same page, then I'm going to be able to do this. And that is not reality. Reality is you will not get everyone on the same page. You declare the standards and then you see who wants to elevate themselves to that. And so I'm curious if you could share with us what was some of the resistance that you got from people, and who eventually got on board and was like, no, I want to be part of this, and who was like, no, thank you. What was some of the resistance?
So, of course, the resistance, I mean, silly stuff, uniforms, I mean, cell phones, all the immature kind of, I mean, the ridiculous things that just make you a good employee. But the standard is the standards didn't push them out. The staff that accepted the standards pushed them out because they didn't want Susie in their room who's on her cell phone, because that puts them in trouble. That puts them in jeopardy of getting in trouble if something's happened. So, when you have a conversation with the staff, when you're onboarding them, we have every single standard, um, you know, basic standards. They sign it. They sign an agreement. I'm going to wear the uniform. I'm not going to use my cell phone. This is the call out policy. This is the attendance policy. They all sign it.
But even after they sign it, there's still resistance.
Right. So then they start resisting. So when they start abusing it, well, when you did your orientation, here's the paper. You said you agreed to it. If you don't agree to it, it's okay. You don't have to be here. Nobody's making you stay, but this is the standard of the company. So if you like to stay and work through it, then we're here. We're here. And some stay and some don't. And some have to learn the hard way that we're not going to budge. It's non-negotiable. It's just not.
Yeah, and they have to really, really see that. Again, a lot of young staff don't mean to act like teenagers where they're pushing the boundary and waiting to see, is mama really going to take away the car keys from me or not? But that's what they're doing. They're waiting to see, like, do you really mean that I have to come here at 8 o'clock? And if I walk in at 8:03, it's not such a big deal. Or if I walk in at 8:03, you're going to talk to me because I walked in 3 minutes late. Like, when someone starts violating the standard, they rarely violate it by 30 minutes. It starts with 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 1 minute here. And the reason it starts that way is because it makes the leader feel like, they came. Look, I'm going to make a big deal over 1 minute. I'm going to make a big deal over 3 minutes. And that's how it starts. But anchoring to the standard is not you making a big deal over 3 minutes. It's the standard is 8 o'clock. Here's why it's not 8:03. There's a reason it's 8 o'clock. So coming at 8:03 means you are no longer protecting the standard. Even if it's 3 minutes, you are not protecting the standard.
Yep. And I think in our company, we've spent a lot of time building teams. So when somebody is 10 minutes late and now she, her partner, her co-teacher is out of ratio, or, so now, okay, when they're, so the director goes in to cover and she says to the teacher, well, Susie's late again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So you're affecting your teammate. You didn't show up today. You called out 5 minutes before. Okay, well, Susie now, is 10 deep under because you waited 10 minutes to call before you're supposed to be here. You did it to her, not to me. You didn't do it to the company. You did it to Katie. So really pinning it on who's responsible for what. And
the outcome.
Yes, and it used to be me. I owned it because I'd be right there. I'm here. It's okay. I got it. It's okay. You're late. It's okay. No, it's not okay because Katie was out of ratio and nobody wants to start their day like that. Nobody. So
no one deserves to be treated that way.
No. And I think there's two pieces to it, Chanie. It's protecting the standards, but also creating a team where we depend on each other. And when we can put that together, it becomes an incredible place to work. Yeah. And I'm not saying that
it's a whole separate conversation of depending on each other, because people don't want to depend, because if I have to depend on you, that means that you matter to me. And if you matter to me, it means you can hurt me. There's relational risk in depending on someone. And in the West, in America here, we are obsessed with individualism, obsessed with, I could do it on my own. I've made it on my own. I did it on my own. Sweet love. Anyone that has built anything beautiful in their life has not done it alone. They have done it in partnership. They've done it in marriage. They've done it together with other people. Nobody accomplishes anything meaningful alone. No one. You must have healthy dependence. So I so appreciate you brought that up, because it's rarely spoken about, or even when I do interviews, and sometimes I talk about it in my solo episodes, we've lost healthy dependence. We've lost what it means to, you actually can't run this classroom alone. You actually need your co-teacher. You actually can't run the center without your leadership team. You need them. And because they matter, they can impact you, right? And that's, again, just a whole separate conversation, but thanks for bringing that up, just depending. What do you want to tell someone who was once sitting where you were?
Don't give up. Keep going.
Okay.
I think really
Okay.
focusing on, I'm going to say it again, protect those standards. Create the standards that you want for your company.
Yeah.
And then teach your leaders to protect that no matter what.
Yeah.
And support them in protecting that when it gets hard and giving them the verbiage.
Yeah. And that's part of what we do here. What I'm curious, it's been a while, but I'm curious if you could go back to that moment. What were you skeptical about when you first joined? I mean, it's been a while, so I'm curious if you can even remember.
I think I was really nervous about your boldness. I think because I'm kind of a sit back, reflective. I'll think. I don't really like to talk about myself. I don't like to. I think we had one conversation one day. You were like, you were talking about yourself and, all the things you've done. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I mean, like, you should, because you have a lot to bring to the table. And and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. But you constantly bring that back to me. Like, hey, I have a lot. I have 20 years, 32 years in education. Like, I have a lot to offer. I think you pull me out of my comfort zone a lot. You call me out sometimes, and I'm like, oh, okay. But after that, it's all done with love. But after that, I know I'm a better leader because of you. But yeah, I was really skeptical, and I would just watch you. I'm like, she's young. I mean, you're a lot. I probably could be your mom.
Yeah, you could.
I'm like, oh no, she's gonna call on me. Here she comes, and I'm like, ah. But I'm not so much like that anymore. I'm like, okay, she's gonna pull something out. I'm probably gonna cry, or I'm gonna be upset. I can remember being on a call with my directors, and you said something to that director, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, she's probably going to quit after this. And you just kept pushing and pushing, and finally she broke, and she was like, you're right, honey, you're right. I did whatever it was. You used to scare me, but now I know that you're going to pull something out that I couldn't see. And so it's comforting to know that. I don't know, just have this way about you. You can do that. So people should be afraid of you.
Me. I actually, it's the first time I'm hearing this. So this is interesting. I do want to thank you for continuing to trust me over all these years, because I believe in any type of mentorship or coaching relationship, both people, if it's done right, learn and gain so much. And I've become a different person, a different leader, because I'm in a relationship with you. Just watching the way you have raised your girls, your marriage with Kurt, the way you've, like, just all the things that you've chosen and how you show up in the world. It's reciprocal. And I think that's what makes coaching relationships so beautiful in that way.
I love that.
Yeah. What still isn't the way that you want it to be?
I think still where I sit in my company, I'm much better than I used to be, but I'm still in it. And I always said from the beginning, everybody, all the owners, I don't want to work in my business. I want to work on my business. Well, I want both. I want to balance it. I don't want to always be out. I want to be in. But balancing that in, I think I'm in a good place right now, and I hope I can continue to do that. I'm setting up my life so that I can always be in it when I want to be in it. And I think slowly that's happening, but I'm hoping eventually that I'll only be in it when I want. But I still have leaders that I have to work with and train, and those are work in progress. And And that fuels me. So right now I'm in a good place, and I'm hoping like by next year we're gonna have a conversation, a podcast maybe on how to get out. How are you out? Like, what are you doing?
How are you holding now?
Yeah. And
because the reality of change is that it's a journey, right? I think too much on the internet sells like in 18 months you can do this, and in 5 months you could do this, and the reality is that we do something in 5 months, and then life hits us and we regress and we're like, oh, I'm doing that again, and then we catch ourselves and then we go back, return to that thing, and then we're like, oh shoot, I'm doing it again, but this time you catch it faster, right? And so this process of thinking like, and now I'm never going to do that again, I'm never going to fix again, or I'm never going to do, but you are. But now you'll catch it faster.
Yep.
Right now you'll do it right. I was telling, I was interviewed on a different podcast the other day, and someone was like, what did you stop doing? I'm like, well, I used to build lifeboats for people all the time. I used to just rescue everyone and take care of everyone. I'm like, I ran out of lifeboats about 2 years ago, but I still build lifeboats. Like every once in a while, I'll find myself building the life raft, and I'm like, honey, stop building a life raft. Go after and tell the person what. So I appreciate the realness of this conversation, that the reality is you've been at this for a long time. You've been working towards being optional inside of the business, being in and out as you desire. And it does take longer than we think. It's harder, longer, and more arduous than we think. And as we cross certain milestones, the joy, the relief that comes, where we're like, oh, I've got it now. Like this, I now really understand. I thought I understood it before, but I really didn't. What's your final message to the owner that's listening to this? That's like, Kathy, this is great, but it feels overwhelming. I don't know that I could really do this. It's not really that bad in my center. Why should I go and do all this hard work? Infrastructure sounds too overwhelming. What's your message?
I think that, start from the beginning and really look at your standards and the infrastructure of your company, and really where you want to be in your company. Some owners want to be out, right? Some owners want to be in. Some owners are like me. I'm here. I want to be in and out whenever I want, right? Really define what you want for yourself first, and then your company, and then start bit by bit. And this is probably in 20 years, probably the fifth time that I've said, we're going to take a retreat weekend and we're going to revamp the whole year. And really doing that. And I know a lot of people do that, but really not just looking at the standards, looking at the whole infrastructure of your company as a whole, and really spending that time reflecting that, and then moving slowly. Each season's going to bring something different, each journey. Just like you said, we could talk next month and I might be like, oh, I'm out this month. I don't want to be in it. You just don't know what season in life what life,
what happens. Yeah.
what throws at you.
Yes.
And be able to kind of be patient with
Yeah.
yourself, and keep the goal in mind, the mission and the protection of your standards. And I really believe that's the key to success in this industry. I really believe that with all my heart.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.